chemical factory fire at Derrimut in Melbourne's west earlier this month shut down a major highway and neighbouring businesses.
The warehouse itself is full with multiple types of chemicals, and those chemicals are being impinged, those drums are being impinged by fire, so they are exploding.
An atomic bomb. Unbelievable.
To fight a fire of this size, it's huge. There is a huge amount that goes into it and a huge cost. And so why should we keep having to bear those costs when if it was properly regulated, this wouldn't be happening?
The blaze at ACB Group took more than 50 fire trucks and 180 firefighters to control. It came just 9 months after another chemical fire at the site. That blaze killed 44-year-old factory worker and father of 3, Rhys Martin. For this chemical safety industry veteran, the sequence of events is inexcusable.
It was astonishing to have a fire that large in a business that had already had an incident, and really a more serious incident with a workplace fatality last year.
Investigations into both fires at ACB Group are ongoing. The company says it's cooperating with the authorities. Problems at the chemical manufacturing site were known to the regulators. WorkSafe Victoria and the EPA had visited the company multiple times since the fatal fire, issuing it with improvement notices.
I think we do need to see a bigger stick, and I think it's also up to government to give them the authority to be able to do that.
In December 2023, another worker was killed in a chemical blaze at a paint factory in Dandenong South.
We don't get a lot of chemical fatalities. To have 2 fatalities related to static electricity explosions in the last 12 months is, I think, unprecedented in the last 50 years.
Richard Greenwood helps businesses that handle dangerous chemicals comply with the law. He says WorkSafe Victoria either doesn't have enough powers or is not enforcing them as it should.
I see a lot of the good guys. The good guys are the ones who'll actually go out and seek a consultant and pay for them. The bad guys don't spend anything, basically. So.
Vignesh Varatharaja is lucky to be alive after a drum filled with solvent blew up in his face at a chemical waste factory in Melbourne's northern suburbs in 2019. He was not adequately trained in handling such dangerous chemicals.
I had a fire like 2 or 3 places. Then I ran away from outside like a road. Then I saw the fire, all the factory was blasted.
CCTV vision captured the explosion. Moments before, Vignesh had been decanting a flammable liquid into a smaller drum. The factory was destroyed in the blaze.
1,000 litres a big container, so need to fill up the 6-litre container. So I drain it. It suddenly is blasted.
The migrant worker had to ask his colleague to drive him to hospital. He was put in an induced coma and spent several days in hospital with burns to his face, throat and upper body.
When I saw the video last year, I think so, I realized, it happened. It's a big massive fire on my shoulder and head, and then like a foot, like a legs and everything.
In the case of Vignesh's former workplace, Bradbury Industrial Services, the court heard the company had been illegally stockpiling hazardous chemicals at its 3 sites in leaking tanks and had poor fire protection systems. The company was found guilty of multiple charges and fined $3 million, but it went into liquidation, avoiding payment. The blaze cost taxpayers $10 million to clean up.
I think we'd have less incidents if we had a tougher and better resourced cop on the beat. There are businesses that will choose to fly under the radar and not report and not identify and not meet their obligations. And they will be businesses who have dangerous practices and may lead to fatalities and fires.
The Victorian WorkSafe Minister Danny Pearson, WorkSafe Victoria and Fire Rescue Victoria all declined 730's request for interview. A state government spokesperson says the regulation of dangerous goods was updated in 2022. The trigger for updating the regulations was in 2018. Regulators were blindsided when a toxic chemical fire broke out at a warehouse in West Footscray that they had previously inspected, but had been unaware was illegally stockpiling dangerous chemicals. WorkSafe Victoria wouldn't tell 730 how many sites across the state currently handle dangerous goods, nor would it respond to questions about its performance. For Vignesh, the trauma of his near-death experience lingers. He spent 4 years out of work after the accident on workers' compensation payments.
Physically I'm okay, but mentally till now I get some suffer in my. I can't sleep in the night because sometimes I sleep, it sometimes happen. If anything happen, who will help me?
How serious is it? It's a death. It's the millions of dollars of loss, it's the pollution, it's the clean-up, it's the cost of all of that, which often ends up dropping back onto the taxpayer because the business is gone by then.